there's so many people out there, either at the beginning of their journey or maybe an accidental landlord. And there really are so many opportunities now, aren't there? I mean, 20 years ago, it was literally just a buy to let. And then, then it was HMOs, and then it's kind of serviced accommodation. And there's a lot about sort of supported living at the moment. I mean, where do people start? Why? I know you do other other strategies as well, but what is it for you that really has drawn you to HMOs and more this high level, which you call the co-living, isn't it? Which is that? What drew you to that?
So one of our core values within our business group is to build community. And one thing I've always been good at from my uni days onwards was connecting people. And it was started off with bands, artists, musicians, and putting people together to create something which was greater than the sum of the whole. I really loved putting people together. So community's been at the heart of my life for 20 years now. And when I got into property, I was told, you do a couple of buy-to-lets and then you go HMO because it has the cash flow. You need cash flow to make big dents in your income, to make big changes to your life. So when I did that first property training in the beginning of 2015, I was like, okay, I'm going to HMO. Didn't really think much more about it. Just like, okay, I'm going to do a couple of buy-to-lets. But then I just thought I'll just buy an HMO straight away. So I did. So I went straight. I actually had the offer agreed on a buy-to-let and an HMO on the same day, which is a house which I converted to a 5-bed HMO. And it was from there that I thought, actually, how could we do the HMO better? And I still had the people in my ears going, okay, these are your minimum room sizes. I was like, okay, 6.5 square meters, 6.5. How many 6.5 can I get in it? And then as we built the first one, which had probably 1 6.5, 2 7.5s, probably a 9 square meter and a 12 square meter room, it was quite clear very early on. They all had en suites, so it's like we're doing all en suites, but it was very clear early on that the big one rented straight away. The little ones just voids, even though they rented, we get larger voids. So you're having to play around with the rent. So you're in that commoditized part of the marketplace where you're competing with other people on price. Whereas the higher quality, there was a lot less of that around. Therefore, I could pretty much charge what I wanted. And I saw that and I thought, well, why am I just doing more of these? Why don't we do it? So we did a second one where it was a little bit better, so slightly larger rooms. And then I came across this commercial building, an old offices right in the centre of Warrington. And we walked past it a few times and it sold. And and then I rang them up and said, how's the sale going? And they said, actually, it's about to fall through. We think, would you like to view it? So I rang up on exactly the right day and it came our way. And I managed to raise about 150k for this property, which became an 8-bed HMO and a 1-bed flat. So it was a really great price. And I didn't really realise how great a price it was at the time. We bought it in cash using an investor in full. And we just converted it. And it's probably one of still the best performing properties in our portfolio, just because of what we bought it for, what we were able to convert it for at the time. No, it's not all singing or dancing in design terms, because it's still got the old beige box, the old furniture packs that everyone used to be all the rage at the time. In fact, actually, that's an interesting point, because the second thing that I realised was that we started doing this, and then other people started to do it as well. I talked about what I did. That's quite a nice location, or I'm just going down the road. I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. And I was looking on Spare Room at our adverts that I was putting up. I self-managed to start with. And our first couple of houses, we were at the top, nothing really competing. After about 12 to 18 months, I started to see other nice looking rooms popping up, and they were identical to ours, because they were using exactly the same furniture pack, exactly the same grey feature wall, exactly the same artwork from the same company, which will remain nameless. And you know, they were great for a time, and they're still going and probably have evolved since then. But you know, there are better furniture suppliers that I use now. But what I realised is that we were no longer standing out. We'd taken this good quality product, and then around us, the commoditized marketplace had appeared. So at that point, I was like, hang on a minute, this is good, but we've got to stand out more. So that's where I realised we have to be in the top 5% of our market, and we have to stand out. So we have to create a product, a service, which is different to everyone else's. And that would be my advice to anybody getting into HMOs, is that if you're going to do something, avoid the middle, avoid the marketplace where all you're doing is competing on price. We've proven that our model is pandemic proof because our rooms filled at market beating rents in 2020, 2021. And I know other people drop their rents. They're still trying to get their rents back up to what they should be, which is actually easier now because rents have jumped quite a bit. But for the first year, it's like, well, you got somebody paying $450 in a house where someone else is paying $650, $600. Yes, but people then start to get a bit miffed, going, what's going on here? People do talk. So it was all about standing out, and we've proven that. And you know what? When you're choosing locations and areas to invest, it's about making sure that you got your tenants, your backup tenants, and your backup tenants, because that's what's going to provide you with resilience in a recession. But again, if you've still got the best product in the market, people will still want it.
I love it.
Especially in a market where the demand is so strong. And there's probably only one or two markets at the moment that I would avoid because it's been overdone. But at the moment, the demand across the UK is so strong that pretty much anywhere will work if you follow this model.
Oh, fantastic. And so, I mean, I really love this kind of. I was quite shocked actually. I went around a friend's portfolio, and I'm not used to bog standard buy-to-lets. I'm serviced accommodation background, so all of my properties look sparkly and clean and beautiful, and you're proud to kind of walk people in, and they really they're quite sort of show-stopping, so to speak. And then going around bog standard buy-to-lets, I was just a bit like, oh my gosh, is this what it like? So that, I suppose, for me, that's what really has drawn me to you as well, is producing this product that is really beautiful, and also again you feel really proud to have your tenants living there, and likewise I'm sure they do. I mean, I remember living in my halls, well, not in my house, I don't think it was called an HMO then, but anyway, in my uni house, it was so disgusting. I mean, it literally had like mushrooms growing in the bathroom. It was just awful. It was, whereas now I hear that students' housing is beautiful and really amazing. So just as understanding with you, I know, am I right in thinking that you've got the high end, but there may be occasions where there is a property that you buy that maybe just isn't possible to make it so nice. It might not be big enough to maybe have en suites or all those other things. Do you kind of still run them as an HMO, or do you put them into something like supported living or any other things? How do you sort of work your portfolio?
So when we're buying new stock, we essentially we've got this graph that I drew in my book, which essentially is looking at where the most profitable strategies are. And in terms of residential, it's HMOs and high quality HMOs, top 5 to 10% of the market. And then on the other side, you've got the social housing supported living, where you've got long FRI leases in place, whereby you can essentially, you're getting a bonus for providing a service which is again really needed. So what we have done is we've taken any property which happened to be stuck in the middle, and we've taken it either to high end or taken it and put it on long leases. So that's how we've dealt with it. Our buy-to-lets, they're just buy-to-lets. There's not the same issue with that, because buy-to-lets just rent out all day long. And we just do them nice. We don't do your beige blocks, not magnolia walls. It's a little bit of nicety and just maintain them, and we just keep them, and they just tick over in the background. But with the high cash flow stuff, there's more involved. There's more regulation, legislation, but with that extra the oversight becomes the extra profit. So with an HMO and a shared house, I want to avoid management challenges, avoid problematic tenants, but they generally come in the middle when you're at the kind of the bottom of this curve, where the top on one side you've got high end, not nice quality, and the top on the other side you've got someone else dealing with the tenants. So because these people are generally either challenged in some way, they've got circumstances that they're in, and I would say that you're always supported living. I say supported living follows a similar trend where you want to be at the top, the higher end, because that's where you're going to get fewer challenges. People are more likely to respect the property and look after it, and you can command a much better nightly rate. But when it comes to the properties which are too small to be what I would call a next level HMO, then that would end up probably in some kind of supported living, social housing strategy, where I don't have to worry about having to manage the tenants, or it's just a straightforward buy-to-let. So that's what we've done. We had a couple of problematic HMOs in the Midlands, and we tried professional tenants. We didn't put en suites in every room because we thought this area hasn't up and come just yet, so we're going to avoid that. It has up and come quite a bit since then, and one of our clients owns probably the most number of rooms in this area now. So he went and kind of owned the area whilst we were elsewhere, and then we decided we weren't going to invest money into properties. We were going to change the strategy to then get higher income. So then we rented it out to someone else. So someone charges a nightly rent to contractors or to charities or to supported living providers, and we just take the guaranteed rent, which is better than we were getting as a commoditized HMO, because we don't have to worry about any of the bills. And basically, what you say, you take that gross rent the gross rent you were getting, and it becomes your net rent as a strategy. So we're very happy with how those are performing now, once we solved the problem and shifted it from one to the other side of our curve, as it were.
Fantastic.